Hello ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Deaver here. So today we're going to be doing something pretty fun. We're going to be learning how to build an electric motor. That's right, we're actually going to make a functioning, I hope, electric motor. Okay. Now you'll be working in small groups, probably 2 or 3 students, and if you're a virtual student, I'm going to do this lab for you so you can watch and see how it works and then fill out your lab sheet using the information I give you. So, hey, so let's get started. Alright, now, so the first thing I've got to do is bend 2 paper clips in a very particular way. Alright, so here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the little piece that loops inside and I'm going to bend it straight down like that. Okay, so it's like an L shape, and then I'm going to take this little part of the L shape and I'm going to bend it out like that. Okay. Alright, so now I got this little thing that'll kind of stand up like that, and now I'm going to take this part of the loop and I'm going to bend it around and up to make a little bitty hole there. Okay, little bitty hole. So now I got this thing that will stand up and it's got like a little bitty hole in it. Okay, cool. I'll be right back after I make the other one. Okay, so now that I've got 2 of these little guys, I've got to attach the wires to them before I tape them down. So I'm going to take the wire and I'm going to wrap it around the base part, okay? Part that's going to be setting on cardboard. I'll wrap it around like that. So now I got the wire coming out, okay? That's attached to this piece I made. Now the next thing I'm doing is I line these 2 up so that the 2 little holes are directly opposite each other, about 1.5 inches apart. Okay, because something's going to go through one of those holes and through the other one. So they have to line up perfect, and then I'm taping down. Let's line that up a little better. There we go. So I'm now taping these down, and I can kind of wiggle them a little bit because I want these 2 holes to line up just perfect, okay? Alright, so I've got that done. Next step. So for the next step, I'm going to take a piece of my wire here, and I'm going to cut a piece of wire, and I'm going to wrap that wire. I'm going to make a loop. So basically what I want to do is I want to take the middle of my piece of wire, find the middle of it, and I'm going to start wrapping that around a pen so that I can get a nice circle. First I'll wrap one side a few times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I'll wrap the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and I want to leave a couple inches hanging off the ends like that, okay? A couple inches. Then I'm going to take this and I'm going to slide it right off my pen. Okay, see that? Now, the last step is I'm going to take these ends and I'm going to flip one around and through. I'm going to do that once, and I'm going to do that twice. Okay? And then I want it to come kind of straight out from my loop, my coil. Oh, we're making a coil. What could that do? And then exactly opposite from this one. Okay? And this is tough and it's important. Exactly opposite. I'm going to take this one and I'm going to wrap it through, and I'm going to loop it a couple times so that now you see how these 2 need to be directly opposite each other like that. Okay? Directly opposite and right in the middle of the circle. Right in the middle. I think that's going to work beautiful. Alright. So, now I'm ready for the next step. Alright, now this next part's really important and a little tricky. So one end, you're going to take the sandpaper and you're going to completely clear the coating off of that end. Okay? You're going to keep working on it till it's totally clear. Okay, so if you look closely now, this half has been totally cleared. Okay, you can see that red paint. That red coating has been sanded right off. Now, don't do the same thing on this side. You're not going to clean the entire all the way around off. Instead, you're going to hold it up and down like this and just sand the coating on the top off. Okay? And I use the edge of the table to do this. I'll show you how. Alright, so look at this, and look at the angle that I'm holding this at. I'm not holding it flat like that. No, 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 that's bad. Don't do that. Hold it up and down, okay? So the loop, the coil is up and down, and you're going to sand the top off, okay? The coating off of the top. It's okay if, as you're sanding, maybe you roll it just a little bit to the side and back towards the other side, just a little bit. But the trick is you're only taking the coating off of the top half of that wire. Don't take the coating off the bottom. If you take the coating off the bottom too, it won't work. Just the top, okay? Very important step. Alright, now back to my setup. I'm going to slide this through here, okay? And I'm kind of going to pull it apart a little bit to get the other side to go through the other hole. Okay, so now I've got two holes, and I've got to check to make sure this thing can spin pretty freely. Okay, if it's not spinning freely, you may have to make some little adjustments to your wire, some other things. Oh yeah, that's nice. Look at that, spinning almost very freely by itself. Okay, now the next step is we need a battery and we need a magnet. Okay, now my magnet, what I'm going to do with my magnet is I'm going to slip it up underneath the coil and make sure that the coil can still spin freely. Okay, see that? Still spins freely. Now, check out what happens when I connect my wires to the battery. Remember, we need to be careful about the battery getting hot because this is kind of creating a short circuit type of scenario. Okay, here we go. And let's give this a little flip. Now, if I have created this, if I put this thing together right, it will continue to spin and spin and spin all on its own because I have created an electric motor. And interestingly, if I pull this out, it will stop. And if I put it back in, the motor spins the opposite direction. Man, it's really cooking now. Wow. Okay, so one pole of the magnet makes it spin one direction, and the other pole of the magnet makes it spin the opposite direction. How interesting that is. Another way I can switch the direction, check this out. Let it come to a stop, switch the direction of the current flow, and there it goes. It spins back the opposite direction. So two ways I can switch the direction is by switching the pole of the magnet or switching the direction that the current flows through the coil. How interesting is that? Okay, so let's see if we can figure out why this thing actually works. Like, what makes it go? So maybe you're wondering, how in the world does this thing work? Well, here's how it works. When you hook up the current to the battery, the current flows through this loop, and we've learned that coils create a little magnet. So I want you to imagine that this pen is the invisible magnetic field that is created when we hook it up to the battery. And one end of the magnetic field is going to have, say, a north pole, and one is going to have a south pole. So I want you to imagine that this is the south pole of our magnetic field. Meanwhile, we've slipped a magnet underneath the coil. So now, all of a sudden, once we turn this thing on, the south pole of the magnet and the south pole of the magnetic field in the coil are going to what? Well, like poles repel. So basically what it's going to do, let's see if we can change our angle a little bit here. It's going to make our coil want to spin up as the like poles repel. Okay, they push away from each other. And then, because we sanded 1/2 off of our wire over here, as it spins, it will actually turn off, okay? It will turn off the current because the unsanded side of the wire is an insulator that does not allow the electricity to flow. So, first of all, it will repel and spin up, and then it will turn off and just coast halfway around. And then when it gets back to here, where again our south pole is right above our other south pole, it turns back on, which once again pushes it up and away until it shuts off and coasts again. And this process just repeats and repeats and repeats. And the magnetic field generated by the coil is constantly pushing away from the magnetic field generated by the permanent magnet. So as long as we have this battery connected, the coil continues to spin and spin and spin. And really, it would keep doing that until either the battery ran out or our little motor mechanism fell apart. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is how a simple motor works.